Hey guys, we're going to try to talk about our Global Awareness Technology project. And one thing we're going to talk about today is paraphrasing your notes. We started talking about paraphrasing last week and some of the strategies that you could use to paraphrase your notes, including finding a synonym, changing the order of the words, using the text structure in the piece, or finding the main idea of the section. Today, we're going to do this with your notes that you've already collected. So the first step is going to be rereading our research notes. Then we're going to paraphrase our notes, thinking of any connections that we find between them. Then the next step is going to be thinking about if there's anything I'm still wondering in my research. And I can go back to my questions and add to the things I'm still wondering and things I may need to research in the future. And then I'll ask myself if the things I still want to know are somewhere in my existing sources, or if I may need to go back and find some new sources. And if that's the case, we're going to go back into our sources, answer some more questions, or maybe find some new databases and sites. So I'm going to start with step 1, and I'm going to go reread my research notes. So here are some notes that I have about my topic is architecture in ancient Greece. So I'm just kind of looking through, skimming what I've already collected so far. I know that the public buildings in Greece are where people worked, and this usually was a separate part from where the private buildings were, where people lived. I learned about this central place called the Agora, which is where a lot of the public buildings were located. I have a little bit of information about temples and the design that was used to create a temple. And in that article, it also talked about how temples could be used for celebrations, awards, or thanking gods and goddesses. And then I have one more note about the houses that people lived in and how rich people and poor people usually had similar houses, and usually the design was important to the house, like with the courtyards and the windows and how they tried to use those to help people feel more comfortable. So if I'm going to go back to my paraphrasing chart, I'm going to write kind of in my own words some things that I learned and some connections that I'm finding between those facts that I've collected. So something that I've learned would be that public buildings are in a specific part of town, because I know that they're putting all those public buildings in the center where everybody works, so they're all close by, they're easy for everybody to access, so that was pretty purposeful in them putting them in a specific part of the town. I also know that those private buildings, so like the private houses, were designed with the people in mind, because they were not just building them, kind of going for the easiest route or building them to try to make it a quick job. They were thinking about what were people going to need. People were going to want fresh air, so they had to think about how could we put the windows facing the courtyard, how could we design some open spaces for them to be able to get the fresh air and still live comfortably. So they were designing them with the people in mind. And then a last thing that I did learn was a little bit about the temples, and temples were fancy in their design. So unlike the houses, which I learned were a bit more simple, the temples seem to have more of like an artistic style with columns and maybe some extra intricate details that the other buildings didn't have. So that kind of covers my step 2, where I kind of started to connect some of the ideas and still putting it in my own words, but I'm taking what I know and kind of giving a little summary of what I've learned so far. So now I'm going to think about some things that I'm still wondering. And as I am thinking about the stuff that I've already read, I don't know a lot about the temples, which I feel like is going to be a big part of my topic in architecture. So some things I still wonder are like, what was the purpose of the temples? Because it seems like I have a little bit of information about their design, but I don't really know just yet how people were able to visit them or use them, if they were located kind of in a place like the Agora where people could all visit them. So I think I still want to learn some more about the temples. And then if I go back to my question, step 4, So some questions that I have, I know I kind of already answered some things about the buildings, but I don't know too much about how they were building them. So like the materials and tools that they used, the kinds of people that were building them. Those are some things I haven't really answered yet in the information that I collected. So I think I'm going to add that to my wonderings. What materials and tools did they use? And maybe also like what is architecture, because I'm starting to see kind of some examples of architecture in ancient Greece, but just to kind of have a definition in my research to kind of see what the different aspects of architecture are. So now I need to ask myself, am I wondering somewhere in my sources, or am I going to need to find some more sources? So I pretty sure I have more information about temples in some of the things I've collected. So I have my list of sources here where I don't have my books with me at home, but I can still access my databases and my sites. And I'm pretty sure I do have more information about right here. This article talked about the Temple of Athena and its columns, and I'm pretty sure I also have some information about these famous buildings, and that's something I haven't taken notes on yet. I just have it kind of bookmarked for my sources. So I should be able to use the sources that I already have to continue to kind of think about my wonderings. So that's where I'm going to need to start in step 6. I'm going to need to go back to the sources that I already have, try to answer some of these questions, and kind of continue learning more about my topic. If you go back to your sources and you think that you can't answer your wonderings questions, then remember we have our GATP Google site that you can use to find some new articles in the databases and sites for your topic. So after watching this video, see if you can go through the steps for your notes, and you'll be able to access this document on Google Classroom. You can edit it, and you can fill out this table below for your topic. Thanks for watching.